What's good, gamers? It's your boy Stevie Blunder back again with another tier list video. It's actually the first one, but I'll try to get more of these out into the future. So I just wanted to get out of the way that I know that this format is ending relatively soon with the new ban list coming in a couple of weeks, if we even get one at all, that is. But I just wanted to sort of include sort of these, relevant cards, some a bit more than others, for you guys to at least have something in mind when going to online tournaments. I will be participating in MBT's Quarantine Cup tomorrow, playing FCK as always, and be sure you guys take a look at it. Would really appreciate it if some of you guys would just drop by and say hi. So we're gonna go by the tiers. S, we're gonna say like arguably the best hand trap slash hand traps of the format, and these should be included in some capacity in everyone's side deck. A means very strong hand traps, although not all decks should include them. They are something that you should always take into account if you have a hand trap slot. B tier means that they are playable. They're not exactly the best and shouldn't always be played or sided, but there's something that you should somewhat times keep in mind when metas are a bit more loose and freeform. C tier is basically yeah, we're just gonna get rid of anything beyond C tier. Anything C tier is going to be relatively gimmicky or unplayable. And deck dependent are hand traps, which your deck has to be specifically tailored in order to have these hand traps for. Not to say that they are bad hand traps, but that these hand traps are particularly niche in their application, but still are extremely powerful. So we have Phantasme, Gamma, DD Crow, Artifact Lancia, Ghost Bell, Ghost Sister, Reaper, Nibiru, Die Shifter, Ghost Mourner, Hanewada, Evenly Matched, Red Reboot, Effect Valor, Infinite Impermanence, Skullmeister, Chaos Hunter, Droll and Lockbird, Ghost Ogre, Saravius, the Ancient and Ascended, Flying, Retaliating Sea, Ash Blossom, Typhoon, and Gizmek Uka, the latest installment to our hand trap along with Ghost Mourner. So let's just go by these one by one. Let's go Phantasme. So Phantasme is actually a really powerful card. It is a +1 and a free body, and allows you to cycle and dig for more hand traps. But on its own, in formats where things are kind of just like link heavy, and like even though it is a very link heavy format, unless you're running a deck that has a lot of hand traps that you're trying to actively dig for, like Veilers, Nibirus, Imperms, stuff like that, like Phantasme isn't really going to be making too much of an impact because unlike in past formats, like where Salamangreat and Orcus were running around, resource grinding and having access to a lot of cards in hand and just resources and bodies in general was really important in this format. It's kind of just build a board and pray they don't break it. So for this reason, I'm going to put it in B tier. Not because it's bad. It's very, very playable, but just definitely not as amazing as it used to be. Maybe during the Salamangreat Orcus Striker format, this would definitely be an S tier, but right now it's definitely just B tier. Ciphering Gear Gamma, arguably one of the best monster negators in the game. Non-hard once per turn, and is a negate and destroy for any monster effect. And the only downside is having no monsters on board, so like no Phantasme plus Gamma, and you have to run Driver as a Garnet. But I mean, kind of do what you have to do. I would say that Gamma is a very strong A tier. I'm not too sure if I would put it into S tier, but I would say it's arguably just on the borderline of A and S tier. It is extremely powerful, and I love this card. DD Crow, definitely an S tier. Banishes a card out of the graveyard, and especially in a very graveyard centric format that we have right now, such as with Block Dragon being foolish, Jet Synchron everywhere, Eldritch being a major contender. I feel like DD Crow, that single target banish, as well as hitting a lot of other rogue decks really powerfully, like hitting critical graveyard pieces like Gemini Fusion, random ABC pieces. I don't know, but just there's a wide variety of applications, and DD Crow is always relevant in some capacity. Artifact Lancia stops your opponent from banishing. We're just going to include Chaos Hunter in this sort of vein. We're going to talk about both of these and they're both of their pros and cons. So Artifact Lancia can kind of just be played like you could just shotgun it at like the beginning of a turn, or like just what, or just maybe, yeah, you could honestly just shotgun it whenever you need to. It's extremely powerful in against certain matchups like Red Maju, Orcus, stuff like that. And with Orcus seeing a higher capacity of play, I would say that Artifact Lancia is extremely powerful in that regard. So I would, but it's not too relevant against anything else. So things like Eldritch, I guess it does stop Eldritches from banishing, but it's definitely not having the most amazing impact past on like turn one. Maybe on like turns 2 and 3, it does stop loops, but it's not really that amazing. So I'm gonna put it into B tier. Chaos Hunter, it is a floodgate on legs that prevents your opponent from banishing. The thing is that they can kind of just out it with like something like a Cerberus or a Unicorn, so it's not too amazing. It's just a slightly worse Lancia, so I'm going to put it into B tier, but definitely below something like Phantasme. It's like a very low B tier, but not gimmicky enough to be called a C tier. We have uh, Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Let's see what this card does real quick. Haunted Mansion. So I believe... So if your opponent is basically interacting with their graveyard in any way, like trying to banish or add or shuffle stuff back in, it negates the activation, which is very important. I feel like this card does have decent application, like against things like Eldritch Trap effects, things like Gemini Fusion. It's okay against. Things that are trying to like recur a lot from the graveyard. I would definitely say that this, or trying to add back from the graveyard. I would definitely say that in formats where monsters are messing around with themselves in the graveyard a lot, I would definitely see this card have some sort of usage, but right now it is having no real competitive success. Unfortunately, it's going to have to go into the C tier. This is just not the format for Ghost Spell to be, played. So Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This is one of the most format dependent hand traps. What it does is if your opponent has more monsters than you can slap this down, reveal a card in your extra deck, and your opponent has to banish any of them from their extra deck as if they have any copies of it. So like let's say I have a Needle Fiber in my extra deck, I'll slap this down, reveal my Needle Fiber, and my opponent has to banish all their Needle Fibers. This is honestly really good for just that interaction alone. You could always do things like with Auroradon, maybe like Union Carrier, but definitely Ghost Bell and Ghost Reaper is something that you should honestly look into, and I'll put it on like the high end of B tier. Just like honestly, just getting rid of your opponent's Needle Fiber is really important in this matchup. In this not this matchup, in this metagame, in which where Needle Fiber Auroradon combos are literally everywhere. Nibiru, another very easy S tier. It doesn't always have the best impact, but with a lot of decks going into like link cross plays and like Auroradon, Despotto 1 plays, and not really being able to immediately set up like an Omni Negate or like Herald or their Apollo like immediately, like on their 5th or 6th summon. Nibiru honestly is just really powerful for just cleaning out those boards and just ending them really quickly. And if they don't really have any real follow-up, like maybe against Eldritch, all they can really do is maybe like set 2 pass, and one of those is like an Elixir, and they can't really do anything beyond that. But definitely Nibiru is an extremely powerful hand trap. Dimensional Shifter, it's a Macrocosmos for the next 2 turns. It's definitely deck dependent. You could run this in Guru as Fiendus. It does have to go to the graveyard, so it's not like amazing, but you can run it, and it is an extremely powerful effect. Like Macrocosmos like shuts down like 90% of decks in the game. You can run this in Thunder Dragon definitely, but Thunder Dragon isn't really the most amazing card. So I would definitely consider looking at whatever this guy is, D-Shifter. Definitely look at him if you are playing a deck doesn't really care about Macrocosmos. Fucking Trap Tricks can run it for some reason. We have Ghost Mortar and Winter Chill. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this card was dog ass initially, but this card is actually pretty good. It is a Forbidden Chalice on your turn and an Effect Veiler on your opponent's turn. So yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, just Forbidden Chalice. The only neg that I would say, or like the only downside about it, is that it can't be called by the grave. So it is often sometimes seen as just like a slightly more expensive version of Veiler or Imperm, but it does have its own usage. Like Forbidden Chalice can be used on your turn / when you have cards on the field, in comparison to like Imperm and Veiler respectively. Veiler and Imperm respectively. So for that reason, I feel like it is also an A tier. I feel like it's on the low end of A tier, but it's definitely a card that I feel like is making more and more of an impact. Hanewada, definitely one of the best hand traps in the game, does stop FTKs in this tracks, and that's all I play. And in this godforsaken format, Hanewada is just the best hand trap. Highest S tier. Because FTK is the best deck, and Hanewada stops FTK, so it's the best hand trap. Evenly matched, I would definitely put that card into mid B tier, and here's why. Emancipator boards are not going to let you resolve this. Eldritch boards are not going to let you resolve this. Not a lot of meta contending decks are going to let you resolve an evenly matched, but a lot of rogue decks do allow you to resolve evenly matched. Evenly matched is honestly just one of those blowout cards. If you can resolve it, it is insane, but you can't always resolve it, which is definitely one of those things in which where it's definitely not amazing. But evenly matched, I would say, is still an extremely powerful card, but just not against these top meta contender decks. Red Reboot, definitely an S tier hand trap. Any deck that just sort of runs traps, slap down a Red Reboot and you say no. It really sucks that this card is limited and Solemn Judgment is at 3, but I mean, like, Konami back at it again, trying to make Control / Eldritch the best deck. I would definitely either ask this card to go to 0 and Judgment to 0, or have this at 3 if Judgment is going to be at 3. Like, Red Reboot is one of those cards that just completely invalidates Control decks, like Altergeist and stuff. And I would definitely want to see this card either removed, or if Konami wants to keep Control decks in the metagame by keeping things like Judgment and stuff at 3, then I definitely believe that Red Reboot should come back to 3 as a sort of countermeasure to prevent these sort of decks from taking off. Plus, every deck has a counter trap, like Eldritch, so please. Effect Veiler, definitely put this card in the lower end of A tier. A bit worse than Ghost Mourner, because Ghost Mourner does have a lot more application, but it's Veiler. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Veiler. It just does what it does. Infinite Permanence, also a bit higher than... I would say that Mourner and Infinite Permanence are basically like equally as good. It's just that Mourner can be used like on your turn mid combo, I guess. And that Infinite Permanence you sort of have to use as sort of like a first turn play, like during your draw or standby phase, to like negate like a window or something. Poor example, but that's what I used to do during Spiral formats, and that's the only thing coming to mind right now. So yeah, I would definitely just take a look at that and keep that in mind. Skullmeister turns off grave effects. It's pretty gimmicky. I don't really like this card a lot. I can see the I can see the usage, but honestly, why not just use like DD Crow? It's just a vastly inferior version of DD Crow. Like with DD Crow, you can banish their Eldritch traps or their Jet Synchron. Skullmeister just negates it, and I feel that in most of the times you would rather just remove the threat than just negate it. So Skullmeister definitely just a C tier pick. Droll and Lockbird. I really like this card. It is a floodgate that prevents your opponent from searching / adding. But right now, honestly, just is not the format. We're not really searching a ton, like maybe a couple times with like Add Emancipator, but it's definitely not like you stop your search and lose. This is not like when Striker was running around and like they engage the first time, or like the area 0, and then you just say haha Droll, and they kind of can't do anything for the rest of that turn. But definitely Droll, this is definitely not the format for it. So I'm gonna put in C tier. It is still a powerful card, but it just doesn't really hit a lot of meta contending decks. Like, that's a problem. It's really powerful, but this is just not the format. Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre is an interesting card. It hits monsters or continuous spells or field spells and stuff. I would say that it's definitely it's a decent effect. It's always somewhat relevant in every single metagame in which cards exist and activate, but Ghost Reaper isn't too amazing this format. There's not, like I said, there's not a lot you can really hit. Like, if you hit like a Needle Fiber, like they still get access to like a Jet Synchron or whatever from their deck. They can still do Link Cross plays, just slightly impeded. Like, instead of going for a Link Cross, they might just go into like a Rorodon immediately. Ghost Reaper definitely just isn't really too viable this format. Like, unfortunately, in control formats, it's like insane. Like, you hit a diagram like that, oh, it's over. So definitely just gonna have to put that in C tier. Unfortunately, it's just not as good. Ceravius, I don't really know why I put this on the list. I guess because it's technically relevant, because you can search it with Herald after it dies. But Ceravius has only really seen play in gimmick decks in which like they're trying to target like your Needle Fiber with like an Imperm, and you could just say Ceravius negate, haha, no. But definitely this is very gimmicky, and put that shit into C tier. Retaliating Sea. I'm not really sure why this card fell off, to be honest. I really like this card. It is a very powerful card. It's another Macrocosmos on legs, but it's it sort of requires a certain way of building your deck, and you sort of need to take into account how it's going to interact on your turn. And I feel like right now a lot of decks aren't looking too much into it, but I would definitely say that this is a very powerful card. And I just say like you just sort of have to build around having this card. I wouldn't put it in deck dependent because it's not as one sided as D Shifter, but you could just like link it off or something. But yeah, I would definitely put this into B tier. Honestly, like around where Lancia and Reaper are. Definitely a powerful card. Ash Blossom, easily an A tier pick. I feel that Ash Blossom will always be relevant in some capacity. Ash Blossom this format isn't too amazing because a lot of decks can just sort of push through the Ash Blossom with like their 50 extenders and like their one card combos. Like even if you ash like a Needle Fiber, they just need one extender to just keep going into their Auroradon bullshit. But Ash Blossom is just always one of those cards where adding cards and summoning from the deck is always going to be relevant. So I feel like Ash Blossom should definitely always have a place in our hearts as the hand trap that just does it all. Solid A tier right next to Gamma. Typhoon. I really like this card. It sucks that it sucks. This card sucks so much that when I googled Typhoon trap card art, all I got were Mystical Space Typhoon arts. So I couldn't find an actual render for this. So this is definitely just going to be in C tier. It's a shame. I really like this card. The one cheeky interaction that I really like with this card is you can, like, maybe against Mystic Mine, like, they activate Mystic Mine, and they activate Field Bearer, and then you could chain Typhoon to pop the Mystic Mine, and they're just like, oh shit, I can't activate another one, and I don't have a way to get this Field Bearer off the field. And then they're playing just literally Chain Burn without any stall cards, which is really funny. So, yeah, it's okay. It's not okay. It's pretty bad, but it's funny. And finally, Gizmek Uka. Summon Barrier Statue of the Torrent from your deck. That's all it says. Or if you're being really cheeky, Barrier Stormwind for their, what's it called? Mega Fan of Beast O-Line. But usually it's just going to be Stormwind because you can't always guarantee the matchup that you're playing against. I mean, not Stormwind, it's Torrent because you can't always guarantee the matchup you're playing against, and you don't know if they're going to summon Deskbot 01. You don't know if they're going to summon Beast O-Lion or like a Fishborg Blaster if it's Mermail. You never really know. But Gizmek Uka, I would say it's really cheeky right now, but I wouldn't say that a lot of decks are really too well equipped to deal with this. With honestly just summoning a Floodgate and stopping their turn, so definitely, it's really powerful. Honestly, I'll put that in a solid A tier. But do I want to put it in front? Yeah. So the Gizmek Uka is definitely in front of these two, because it's just got a really unique and powerful effect. And all you have to do is give up one extra deck slot to play on your turn. It's really powerful. I enjoy this card. But it's definitely not like a run 3 of this card immediately. It's just a card that you should keep in mind. And that is going to be my definitive, very opinionated, top hand traps of the May 2022 list for the May 2020 format. If you guys have any discussions you want to leave in the comments below, if you guys want to talk to me about what I got right, what I got wrong, etc., please let me know. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.